Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that will change the way you think about success from this moment forward. You will never out-earn, out-lead, or outgrow the person you refuse to become. You see, too many people are trying to upgrade their lives without upgrading themselves. They're chasing success, chasing money, chasing influence, but here's the truth. You don't attract what you are. That's right, you can't expect to grow professionally while staying the same personally. That's like trying to plant apple seeds and expecting oranges. It doesn't work. It never works. Your business, your job, your income, it's all a reflection of your personal development. So if your life isn't growing, it's not because of the economy, your boss, your customer, your competition. It's because of the gap between where you are and who you need to become. You attract what you are, not what you want. This is one of the most profound truths when it comes to understanding success, relationships, business, and life in general. Most people spend their lives chasing what they want without realizing that they are not the kind of person who naturally draws that kind of outcome into their life. Wanting more doesn't bring more. Becoming more does. There is a massive difference between desire and identity. You can desire success all day long, but until your identity aligns with the kind of person who creates success, all you're doing is wishing. It's like trying to pull in high-level opportunities while carrying low-level habits, or expecting to attract loyal, high-value clients while you still struggle with discipline, confidence, or communication. The truth is, life is magnetic, but it doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to energy, to character, to belief systems, to the frequency you're operating on. People don't realize that they are walking magnets, pulling in people, problems, or possibilities that match who they are right now. If you're someone who procrastinates, second guesses, complains, or doubts constantly, you're going to find yourself in an environment that reflects those same traits. That might mean missed chances, unstable relationships, or inconsistent income. But the moment you begin to grow yourself, change your habits, and shift your mindset, the world begins to shift around you. Opportunities begin to recognize you. People begin to trust you. Resources begin to flow to you, not because you begged for them, but because you became someone who's worthy of managing them. That's the secret. You don't get what you want, you get what you're prepared to handle. You don't receive what you pray for, you receive what you're positioned for. So the real work isn't in chasing better outcomes, it's in building a better version of you. And when you do that, you don't have to chase anything. What's meant for you will start looking for you. You'll stop forcing doors open and start being invited into rooms you once thought were out of reach. And it's not just about confidence or mindset, it's about integrity, discipline, resilience, humility, patience. It's about whether you can handle pressure, manage time, stay focused, and still walk with excellence when no one's watching. Those are the internal qualities that determine what kind of success you can attract and maintain. Because it's one thing to achieve something, it's another thing to be able to keep it without breaking down. This is why personal growth matters so much. Because the more you grow, the more you elevate your internal standards. And as your standards rise, your environment starts to reflect that. The friends you keep, the habits you maintain, the opportunities that come your way, all of it starts to shift in response to who you've become. That's not magic. That's alignment. That's transformation in motion. So many people are frustrated because they're asking life for things they haven't yet become the person to receive. And it's not that they're not worthy. It's that they haven't done the work to match the value of what they're asking for. You want next level results, but are you operating on a next level mindset? You want massive income, but are you delivering massive value? You want respect, but are you living with integrity when nobody's looking? Everything you want is already available, but it's waiting for you to step into the version of yourself that can handle it. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. Your income will never exceed your personal development. That truth hits hard, but it's exactly what most people need to hear. There is a direct, unbreakable link between how much value you bring to the marketplace and how much the marketplace rewards you. People often think income is about how many hours they work, or how many years they've been in a job, or how smart they are. But income is not about effort alone. It's about effectiveness. And effectiveness is a result of how developed you are as a person mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and skillfully. If you want to raise your income, you have to raise the level of thinking and action you operate on. If your communication is average, your paycheck will reflect that. If your decision-making is slow or emotional, your business will reflect that. If you avoid responsibility or fear taking calculated risks, your growth will stall. You can't grow your bank account without first growing the one who owns it. That means more books, more coaching, more mistakes that you learn from, more feedback that you don't take personally, more time in uncomfortable places where real growth happens. The uncomfortable is where the income lies. People get stuck because they think the problem is external. They think the company is holding them back, the clients aren't loyal, the industry is too competitive. But the truth is, most people are not being underpaid, they're being paid exactly what they're worth based on the value they're currently delivering. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a freeing one too, because it means you have the power to change it. Your job isn't to complain about your current income. Your job is to become the kind of person who commands a higher one by growing your capacity, your wisdom, and your leadership. You cannot take shortcuts on yourself and expect long-term rewards. The people who are getting paid well are not lucky, they're intentional. They've developed themselves to the point where they're irreplaceable. They know how to solve problems that others avoid. They show up when others quit. They leave when others hesitate. They study when others scroll. They've built internal equity that shows up as external income. And that's the goal, not to chase money, but to become so valuable that money starts chasing you. If you're not investing in yourself, don't be surprised when no one else is either. Your income is a mirror. It reflects your leadership, your discipline, your mindset, your problem-solving skills, your emotional maturity. If any one of those areas is weak, it creates a cap. And that cap limits how far you can grow financially. You can't get promoted beyond your personal development. You can't scale a business past your own capacity. You can't build wealth with a scarcity mindset or a lack of vision. Growth is not optional, it's a requirement. That's why the fastest way to double your income is to triple your value. Learn new skills, get uncomfortable, master communication, understand sales, know how to negotiate, learn how to think strategically. Train yourself to make decisions with clarity and speed. The more you grow, the more you see. And the more you see, the more opportunities you can access that others miss. It's not that life gives more to certain people, it's that certain people have grown into the level where they can see what was always there. If your income hasn't changed in the last year, that's a red flag. Not necessarily about the economy or environment, but about how much you've grown internally. When you stop growing, your results flatline. And the only way to break through is to break within, to stretch yourself, to raise your standards, to challenge your habits. Every new level of income requires a new version of you, not a new job, not a new team, not a new idea, but a renewed mind, refined habits, and relentless discipline. Success is a result of who you become, not just what you do. This is where most people get it wrong. They focus entirely on actions, tactics, and strategies, trying to hustle their way into the life they want without ever understanding that long-term success is rooted in identity, not activity. You can copy someone's business model, their morning routine, their exact words, and still fall short. Because success doesn't come from imitation. It comes from transformation. Until you become the person who is capable of sustaining success, any progress you make will be temporary. Doing is important, but doing without becoming is like building a house on sand. It may look good for a while, but the foundation won't hold. You need the internal strength to carry the external results. That means building character, deepening your beliefs, and rewiring the way you think. Who you are when no one's watching has more influence over your future than any public performance. You can't fake consistency. You can't cheat personal growth. You either grow or you don't, and the results always reveal the truth. People often try to shortcut the process by obsessing over the latest techniques. They want the perfect pitch, the best marketing tool, the ideal connection. But tools don't make you successful. Tools only amplify who you already are. If you lack vision, the best strategy in the world won't save you. If you don't have discipline, no tool will keep you consistent. If you don't believe in yourself, no mentor or system can override that inner resistance. Real success starts with identity. It starts with becoming. That's why two people can follow the same process and get completely different results. It's not the process, it's the person. One shows up with clarity, commitment, and confidence. The other shows up with fear, doubt, and inconsistency. One attracts trust, opportunity, and growth. The other repels it without even realizing it. Success is not something you chase. It's something you allow when you become aligned with it. You don't get to keep what you haven't become ready for. Every breakthrough you're looking for is locked behind a version of you that you haven't met yet. That next level isn't about doing more, it's about being more. Being more focused, being more courageous, being more disciplined, being more forgiving, being more strategic. You don't need to get louder, you need to get clearer. You don't need to move faster, you need to move deeper. Until you become the version of you that matches the vision you say you want, success will stay out of reach. This is why personal development is not a luxury, it's the core of the entire game. When you grow yourself, you grow your capacity. You expand your ability to solve bigger problems, lead stronger teams, and handle more responsibility. That's when your influence multiplies. That's when the right people start showing up. That's when the doors start opening. Not because you tried harder, but because you became someone who belongs in those rooms. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to look in the mirror, willing to do the uncomfortable work, willing to face your flaws and sharpen your strengths. Every day you're either reinforcing the current version of yourself or reaching for the next one. And every version comes with different results. You can't expect a level 10 life with level 4 habits and a level 2 mindset. You have to rise. You have to evolve. You have to become, because success, true success, is not just the fruit of effort, it is the harvest of identity. Discipline and consistency are the real game changers. Talent can open the door and passion can spark the fire, but without discipline and consistency, nothing lasts. This is what separates the people who rise from the ones who remain stuck. It's not the most gifted, the most connected, or even the most inspired that reach the top. It's the ones who show up every single day, especially when they don't feel like it. The ones who do the work in silence, stay focused when it's boring, and keep moving when no one is clapping. Discipline is doing what needs to be done long after the feeling you had when you decided to do it is gone. It's waking up and keeping promises to yourself, not because it's convenient, but because it's necessary. It's not about motivation, it's about maturity. Motivation is seasonal, emotional, and almost unreliable. But discipline is a decision. It's a system. It's a lifestyle. When you build a life on discipline, you become unstoppable because you're no longer driven bigger and driven. You're in the moment you're driven by a bigger picture. Consistency, on the other hand, is how momentum is built. Most people are trying to sprint their way to success. They go hard for a week or two, maybe even a month, and then disappear when the results don't show up fast enough. But success doesn't respond to spurts, it responds to sustained action. Small, repeated decisions over time are what create massive breakthroughs. It's not about being perfect every day, it's about being present every day. Because consistency compounds. Every workout, every book, every morning, every rep, it all stacks, it all builds, and eventually creates results so undeniable that people start calling it overnight success. But there is no overnight. There's only what you were doing for weeks, months, and years when nobody was watching. There's only what you were building behind closed doors when everyone else was distracted. And that's where the difference is made. The marketplace pays for value, and value is built through process. Discipline keeps you on the path. Consistency multiplies the results. It's not about going viral, it's about becoming valuable. It's not about temporary hype, it's about long-term mastery. People often ask why they're not seeing results, why their business isn't scaling, why their fitness isn't improving, why their income has plateaued. And most of the time the answer is a lack of consistency and a lack of discipline. They do the right thing some of the time, but not all of the time. They show up when it's easy, but disappear when it's hard. And what they don't realize is that every time you quit on your process, you reset your progress. You have to rebuild trust with yourself. You have to climb the same hill twice. That cycle kills momentum. The truth is, discipline and consistency are not flashy. They don't make headlines. They're not celebrated on social media, but they're the root of every extraordinary result. The best in the world don't rely on how they feel, they rely on who they are. They don't rise to the occasion, they fall back on their habits. They've trained themselves to do what's required even when it's uncomfortable. And over time, that mindset becomes automatic. They don't ask if they feel like doing it, they do it because that's who they've become. And the beauty of it all is that both discipline and consistency are skills. They're not gifts, and they're not personality traits. Anyone can develop them. Anyone can make the decision to show up, stick with it, and refuse to quit. You don't need to be the best to start, you just need to start and not stop. Because the ones who win are not always the ones who started ahead. They're the ones who kept going. Professional growth is a reflection of personal responsibility. The level to which you rise in your career, your business, or any professional pursuit is directly tied to the level of ownership you take over your life. Blaming circumstances, other people, or even your past might feel valid, but it doesn't change your future. Growth only happens when you decide to stop outsourcing the responsibility for your results. That moment when you say, if it's to be, it's up to me, is the moment your life begins to shift in a real way. Most people want advancement without accountability. They want titles, recognition, and income growth, but they don't want to own their decisions, their habits, or their results. That mindset keeps them stuck. Because here's the truth, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to care about your success more than you do. And until you take full responsibility for everything in your life, your health, your finances, your mindset, your time, you will always be waiting for something or someone to change before you do. Personal responsibility is not about perfection. It's about power. When you take responsibility, you take your power back. You stop living life as a reaction, and you start living it by design. You become proactive, intentional, and strategic. You start asking better questions, not why is this happening to me, but what can I learn from this? Not whose fault is it, but what can I do differently next time? That shift in thinking is what separates leaders from followers, professionals from amateurs, owners from victims. The workplace, the market, and the world at large respond to people who take responsibility. These are the individuals who get noticed, promoted, trusted, and followed. Because when you take responsibility, you become reliable. You become the person who doesn't make excuses. You become the one who finds solutions, stays calm under pressure, and gets things done no matter what. And that kind of energy is rare. That kind of character is magnetic. It creates influence, and influence creates opportunity. Personal responsibility also breeds consistency. When you stop blaming and start owning, you stop waiting for the perfect conditions to act. You stop needing to feel motivated in order to move forward. You understand that your success is not up to the economy, your employer, your coworkers, or even your competitors. It's on you. That's a heavy truth, but it's also liberating because it means no one can stop you if you stay committed. It means the power is already in your hands if you're willing to use it. Everything you want professionally, whether it's more income, greater influence, or higher impact, is on the other side of personal responsibility. You grow as a leader when you start leading yourself. You grow in value when you stop looking for shortcuts and start doing the hard, necessary work. You grow in trust when people see that you take ownership, even when it's uncomfortable. And the more responsibility you take, the more capacity you build. That capacity is what allows you to handle bigger roles, bigger challenges, and bigger rewards. Avoiding responsibility might protect your ego in the short term, but it destroys your potential in the long term. Because every time you point the finger outward, you're giving away your growth. You're handing over your progress to things you can't control. But when you look in the mirror and say, this is on me, you become dangerous in the best way. You become someone who can't be derailed by circumstances, someone who adapts, adjusts, and advances. That kind of person doesn't just grow professionally, they become unstoppable. Investing in yourself is the highest return you'll ever get. The most valuable asset you will ever manage is not your business, your bank account, or your brand, it's you. Everything you touch, build, or lead will only grow to the level that you do. When you make the decision to prioritize your growth, to sharpen your mindset, and to develop your skills, you begin to multiply your impact in every area of life. The time, money, and energy you put into becoming better are not expenses, they are seeds. And those seeds produce a harvest that keeps growing long after the initial effort is made. Most people are waiting for the world to invest in them. They want someone to notice them, fund them, promote them, train them, believe in them. But the real question is, are you investing in yourself first? Because no one will ever believe in you more than you believe in you. No one will prioritize your growth more than you do. When you treat your development like it's optional, don't be surprised when your results remain average. But when you take your growth seriously, when you read, study, train, and surround yourself with high-level people, you begin to elevate your thinking. And that elation produces a different kind of outcome. There is a version of you right now that is underdeveloped, underutilized, and underperforming not because it lacks potential, but because it's not being invested in. You don't need to be fixed, but you do need to be forged. And that happens when you're willing to put and develop your character, your discipline, your communication, your leadership, your creativity. These are the things that separate the average from the elite. These are the things that make the difference when opportunities show up. The person who has invested in themselves is ready. The one who hasn't is overwhelmed. The world doesn't pay for ideas, it pays for execution. And execution is built on confidence, skill, and clarity, all of which come from investment. Every dollar spent on your mind, your health, your network, your mentorship, your education, all compounds. Most people are quick to buy things that depreciate, but slow to invest in what appreciates their value. They'll upgrade their phone, but not their mindset. They'll buy entertainment, but not education. They'll pay for convenience, but not transformation. And then they wonder why nothing changes. Real growth is not comfortable. It costs something. It costs time, attention, humility, and sometimes money. But the return on that investment is exponential. Because when you grow, everything else grows. Your relationships improve because you've matured. Your career expands because you've increased your competence. Your income rises because your value has risen. Your influence deepens because you've done the internal work to lead well. Every breakthrough you're praying for is available, but it's waiting for the version of you who's been developed enough to receive it. Investing in yourself also teaches you to value yourself. You stop settling for environments, relationships, and opportunities that don't match your new standard. You begin to attract higher level conversations, connections, and collaborations, not because you're lucky, but because you've leveled up. You've become someone who thinks differently, who carries themselves with purpose, who walks in a room with confidence and clarity. That doesn't come from luck or talent, it comes from intentional development. It's easy to put yourself last when everything else feels urgent. The job, the deadlines, the bills, the clients. But if you keep putting yourself at the bottom of your priority list, you'll eventually show up empty in all those other areas. You cannot give what you don't have. When you invest in yourself, you increase your capacity to give, serve, lead, and perform. You start operating from overflow, not survival. You become someone who creates change, not just reacts to it. That shift doesn't happen by accident. It's built moment by moment through the investments you choose to make in yourself.